Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a smoky gold eyeshadow on one of my favorite clients. Literally, she comes to get her makeup done all the time. So we're just going to start with prepping her skin. I like to use the Aqua Bloom by Milani. That's the moisturizer I like. And then my favorite primer right now is the e.l.f. Hydro Grip. So I'm just going to prep her skin with that. So while her primer and her moisturizer is kind of soaking into the skin, I like to do the brows. So the brow pencil that I'm using is by Morphe. I believe the color is Cold Brew, I think. But it's the Morphe Micro brow pencil. So I just fill in like the tail of her brow and then do some hair strokes in the front because you can see her brows are already like really full. So I don't do too much. And then I use the e.l.f. Brow Lift just to kind of give more of a laminated look and keep her brows in place. To clean up the brows, I'm using the Trusty Dusty Never Fail Me LA Girl concealers. So I'm using Warm Honey and Beautiful Bronze. Warm Honey, that's what I'm using now just to clean up the tail of her brow and like the arch. And then I'm using Beautiful Bronze in the front of the brow. For me, it just ends up with a more natural look and it keeps it from being like the halo brow look or making it really, really hard to blend out the concealer. So that's what I like to use too. So after cleaning up the brows, I like to go in with the lighter concealer, so the Warm Honey, and just prep her eyelids, pressing it into the lids and making sure that it's smooth so that way when we go to put on the shadows, they blend easy and seamlessly. So the first palette that we're using is the Masquerade palette by Juvias Place. I'm going to take the color Bori, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and I'm going to put that in the crease. So this is just going to be our transition color, and it's going to be like a nice blend when we go in and add more of our deeper neutral browns on top of this. But any eyeshadow look that I do, I usually like to go in with a more colorful eyeshadow first. And then if I want to kind of neutralize it and make it more brown, then I'll go in with those colors on top. This is always good to give you a nice transition. So you can really use any color. Sometimes I'll do pink. Sometimes I'll do like more of a burgundy color, but this one's more of like a burnt orange because that was the look we was going for. So to make sure that everything is seamless and blends really, really good, I'm going to go in with like a skin tone powder. I'm not sure which one I used, but that's just to blend out the top of that first transition color. And as I mentioned before, I did want this look to be a little bit more deep and brown and neutral colored. So I'm going in with the Juvias Place Bronzer Duo in the color Dark and taking the lighter of the two and just adding that over that burnt orange color that we added the first time. So this is actually going to be the bronzer that I use for her face. Anytime you're doing a look and you kind of want everything to kind of flow together and be more cohesive, it's always a good idea to kind of implement the bronzer into the eyeshadow look. I love doing that. It just makes everything so much easier. And now I'm taking the deepest color in the Warrior palette by Juvia's Place and just using that to even further deepen our crease and add some more brown. For her lid color, I'm taking that bronze color in that same Juvia's Place Warrior palette and just packing it onto the lid. You don't have to put any type of concealer or anything underneath. Really, these are really pigmented shadows. And then in a few seconds, you'll see me just going around that shimmer and blending it out with that same brown. And on top, I'm going to take a shimmer pigment. I forget the name of this pigment. It's white gold by, I cannot remember the name of this company. I use it all the time, but you can't really see it honestly on camera. But it really did just help add like some nice gold reflex when she turns her eye. I'm gonna have to link it because I can't remember the name of the company, but it's a J. LaRue. J. LaRue. It came to me. But yeah, and now I'm using the NYX matte eyeliner. If you struggle doing eyeliner on your clients, I really recommend trying this one. It is so smooth. It dries super, super fast, so you don't got to worry about them opening up their eyes and messing it up. Definitely try the matte one. They just brought it back. It's the best one I've ever used. Okay, so now that the eyes are done, I'm going to go straight in with foundation since we've already prepped and primed her skin. The foundation that I'm using is actually new to me. This was my first time using it on her. It's the Morphe Pro Filter, and I'll look and see what color I used on her and just make sure I link it in my description box. But I really liked it. It didn't oxidize crazy. It had a good, color selection when I went to go find one to match her. And it had really good coverage too. So I do believe I'll be adding this to my kit. I think it was like $20. So not bad at all, especially if you're an MUA, you know how much those foundations cost. And especially trying to add a new one to your kit, it's a whole investment. So and then now I'm just going to clean up the top of her brows. I don't like using concealer anymore on the top of the brow. I really like using the foundation because it just makes everything come out more natural. So, yeah. So I know in recent years, especially if you've been doing makeup since like 2015, 16, you notice that e.l.f. has like basically tripled the price of their foundation brushes. But if you're new to makeup and you're trying to build your kit, get your brushes, honestly, e.l.f. is going to be a great place to start. Between them and Real Techniques, they really do have the best brushes for the most affordable prices. So definitely recommend. I'm using a e.l.f. foundation brush now to pat her foundation into her skin. So now that we have the foundation on, I'm going to go ahead and start highlighting. I'm using the LA Girl Pro Concealer. This is literally the first concealer that I ever purchased for my kit back in 2016 when I first started doing makeup. So it is tried and true. Like if you have normal to dry skin, this is always going to hit. If you have super oily skin, you honestly can still use it. You just want to probably set it a little bit more or maybe bake so you get a little bit more longevity out of it. But I love this concealer. I have used maybe 4 or 5 different kinds at this point in my career, but I always keep some LA Girl on me, like for sure. So the colors that I'm using right now is Beautiful Bronze and Warm Honey mixed together. So I'm going to lay and map this out on the whole face first, and then I'm going to go on top of this more towards the center of her face with just Warm Honey, and you'll see it'll be kind of like a little gradient, and once we blend, it's just going to make it blend so much more seamlessly versus just going in with the lighter concealer all over. That's way too hard to try to blend, and it just takes too long. So that's why I map out my highlight like that, but you'll see I'm going to be doing it now. Okay, so right here, this is what I was talking about with adding the lighter concealer, Warm Honey, just by itself towards the center of the face. So I always do that. It makes it so much easier to blend. Now I'm taking LA Girl, the foundation. It's in the color dark chocolate, and that's what I'm using to like bronze slash contour her. I do contour, but I like the colors of my contours to be more bronzy. So it's not necessarily like warm, super warm, but it's not so cool tone to where it gives like a really sharp, strong contour, because I don't really like that look no more. I used to, but not anymore. So yeah, LA Girl Dark Chocolate to contour her. I like to lay down my contour before blending out my concealer. It just always looks better to me. It always blends easier versus like trying to put down the highlight, blend it out, then contour. I don't like doing that. So I'm blending out my highlight now. This brush, oh my God. If I could find this brush, I swear I would pay $100 for another one of these brushes because I only got one. It is a Real Techniques brush. I got it years ago in a set and I cannot find it anywhere. But a lot of makeup artists you see using the Real Techniques 402 brush, which is really, really good. I use those, but they're not as dense as this brush and it's double-ended. So like, do you see how fast I'm blending this? It's literally like a beauty blender on a stick. Like the best brush hands down. And it got two sides, but I can't find it nowhere. If y'all have seen this brush anywhere or know where I can find it, eBay, whatever, please let me know because I will buy it. 10 out of 10. And it don't even have no name on it, so I can't even search it. But if you, which you probably won't be able to find this particular brush, the 402 brush by Real Techniques is great. It's just a little bit smaller and a little bit less dense, so it may take you a little bit longer to blend out everything, but it still works really, really good. Note that I started at the edges of the concealer and started working my way towards the center of the face. I'm always going to recommend doing it that way. It always just makes everything it just blends better and it stays where it's supposed to be. Like when you start from the center and blend out, you end up with concealer in places you didn't want concealer to be. So yeah. And also now I'm just contouring the nose using that same foundation that I used before, the LA Girl Dark Chocolate. Side note, if I'm talking too much, y'all please let me know. Like I watch YouTube all the time. I literally learned how to do makeup on YouTube and sometimes I just want to watch, but that's kind of now that I know what I'm doing and I don't need nobody to verbally explain to me what they're doing. But some people need like a step by step. So I feel like this video is going to be more me running my mouth. If y'all want more videos of me just kind of like watching or showing y'all and y'all can just watch, I'll do that too. Because I can tell I'm talking a whole lot, but I'm just trying to help. Okay, anyways, back to the makeup. So I did end up adding a lighter concealer to the center of her face just because I wanted this look to be a little bit more dramatic. A lot of the times I will leave it exactly how it was before, but it depends on the client and what type of look and finish they like. But for this, I want it to be, like I said, a little bit more dramatic. So that's the e.l.f. Satin Smooth Concealer, and I think medium tan is the color. And then always go around the edges with your foundation brush. And next, I'm going to add blush. The blush that I'm using is by e.l.f. 10 out of 10. It's the cream blush. I believe it's in the color Tahiti. I'm like 85% positive it's in the color Tahiti. It is so pretty for chocolate skin. Like if you're doing your makeup or your client's makeup and they are chocolate, that color is always gonna hit. It's honestly a few of the e.l.f. blushes that are just chocolate girl friendly, and yeah, so in other videos I'll show some more of them, but I love this one. And y'all, I lied. That blush, it wasn't Tahiti, it was Caribbean, but Tahiti is good too. Tahiti is that one's more orange, this one's more pink. But anyways, setting the under eye before I bake or put any loose powder, I like to set with a pressed powder. This, I'm mixing the Sephora Micro Smooth in the color medium and the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the color dark. So that's what I'm using to set her under eye and really all of her highlighted spaces before putting any powder or loose powder on top. I gotta keep it a secret. I keep the key in my lower pocket inside the register below the lower octave.
Dirty laundry in my closet, they be strung out on the street, left it dry with draw sheets and no deposit. But don't gotta worry, put my hand on your mouth, put my hand in your mouth, girl. We got friends in my house, you know the way. It's the way you walk, way you talk, babe. It's the way you love, way you fuck, babe. It's the way you walk, you don't stop, babe. It's the way it's the way you walk.
Okay, so now to bake her, I'm going to use the translucent honey setting powder by Mercier. I love this powder for like more chocolate girls. If any darker than her, I may not use it because it still may come off a little bit ashy, but it's safe for her skin tone, especially if you set them with a pressed powder prior to putting on the translucent powder. Yeah. Also, when you're applying your translucent powder, the key to success in making sure it doesn't come off patchy and look all crazy, one, setting with a pressed powder, two, applying your powder smoothly. Like, don't just pack it on there, because when you go to blend it off, it's not going to be smooth. Like, see how I'm going over the edges and making sure that the application of the powder is smooth? That's what you want to do. So like on her chin, I applied too much powder. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go back and remove some of that powder so the application is smooth. So when I go in to actually blend the powder off at the end, it's not going to be me working double time trying to make it look good. Let's see if I do it. Yep, see right there? Taking off some of that powder and making sure that it's a smooth all over look. Really, the application could have been better. But yeah, y'all get what I'm trying to say. What you see me doing here is setting the contour areas with the microsmooth powder. Is that microsmooth? No, I'm lying. I use the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Deep Dark for this part. So before I put on any bronzer, I like to go around the edges of the translucent powder and also set the contour areas. So that way when I do go in with my bronzer, it applies really smoothly and not patchy. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Now I'm just going ahead and sweeping away and patting in the translucent powder. So like I said, I do a mixture of patting and sweeping. Anytime I've ever just patted it into the skin, I feel like I get more flashback. So I still like to go over and kind of make sure I get any excess powder off of the face by sweeping it away. Now to go ahead and add the bronzer, I'm using that same palette that I used before on her eyes. It's the Juvias Place Bronzer Duo in the color Dark. And I'm taking the lighter one that I used before as well. And I'm just going to go around the same areas where I initially set with the MAC powder, but just going now with the bronzer to deepen it up and make it more bronzy. I recommend using a disposable lip wand for applying the gel eyeliner to the waterline. It's nothing wrong with using brushes, I guess, but I just feel like it's more hygienic to use something that is disposable. Of course, we wash our brushes, but I just think it's always better to use something that you can throw away since you're literally going in somebody's eye with that, you know? But anyways, I'm taking the bronzer that I used before to just smoke out her lower lash line as well as a little bit of black. But I'm keeping that tighter towards the outer corners of her eye to give like more of a feline look, but still smoky. The blush I'm using right now is by Juvia's Place as well. I can't remember the name. I think they're just separated in like deep, medium, dark. And I used dark on her for everything. So that was dark. And spraying her down with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. That's my favorite setting mist, like 10 out of 10. The trick to getting the setting mist to kind of like really set the face and make it look more skin light is this, pressing it into the skin. And what I do to take it a step further is press it into the skin while using a fan at the same time. I love it. I don't like people sitting with wet faces. It just, I don't know. It probably ain't even no science behind it. I just don't like it. So, yeah. And then, of course, always, always, always use disposable everything when it comes to people's eyes, lips. Do not be playing with people's face. We got COVID. We got pink eye. We got all kinds of stuff that's just floating around. Use disposable stuff. Okay? Anyways, but enough of my rant. Lips. This is my favorite lip liner. It is the NYX Line Loud. Yeah, NYX Line Loud. In the color Rebel Kind. Rebel Kind. Every time I try to say this, I be getting tongue-tied. So I probably sound slow, but Line Loud Rebel Kind. That's the name of it. It's really, really smooth, really, really cute. It's deep enough to, really like cater to your darker clients, but you can also blend it out real good if they're a little bit lighter. So I love it. The middle or center color that I'm using is by, I think it's pronounced Nicka K. It's from the hair store, but you can use any nude gloss, but this is my favorite one. And I'll link it below because I don't know the exact color. Okay, so the final step to complete the look is going to be to add a brown lip gloss around the perimeter of her lips. This is just going to make it that much easier to get that super blended ombre look. I used to do this with a clear lip gloss, but doing it with a brown just made so much more sense. It honestly has been a game changer. On top of this, I'm going to just add a clear, and that is it for the look. You guys will see everything in the final scene, but I just want to say thank you all so much for sticking with me through these 22 minutes. I really hope that this was helpful to someone, and if you guys have any further questions or any requests for types of looks you want to see, definitely put it in the comments. Thank you guys.